Hi everyone, my name is Parul. Welcome to my channel Parul English Lab. Today in this video, I'll tell you the difference between while and meanwhile. So stay tuned, and before going ahead, please like and subscribe to my channel Parul English Lab, and don't forget to press the bell icon for future notifications. Now let's get started. While and meanwhile. They both have similar meaning. They both are used when two actions are happening at the same time, but still there is a difference. While is used when two actions happen at the same time and in the same location. On the other hand, meanwhile is used when two actions happen at the same time but at different locations. So this is the basic difference between while and meanwhile. Now let's look at some examples of while first. I was decorating the house while the children were asleep. So two different actions at the same time at the same place. I was decorating the house and at the same time children were sleeping. Now you can also invert the sentence. While can come in the middle of the sentence as well as at the beginning of it. So if you start a sentence with while, the meaning doesn't change. While the children were asleep, I was decorating the house. So the meaning is same, but there is a small difference. What you have to do when you use while at the beginning of a sentence, then after first clause, there will always be a comma. This is what you need to keep in mind. Otherwise, the meaning doesn't change. So while the children were asleep, comma, I was decorating the house. But when you use it in the middle of a sentence, then you do not need a comma. I was decorating the house while the children were asleep. So you do not need a comma in this sentence. She waited for me while I finished my work. So two actions at the same time in the same location. I am making the salad while you peel the onions. While you peel the onions, comma, I am making the salad. Max noticed something while going to office. So here the sentence structure is a little different. Here after while I am using the verb plus ing. So this happens when we have the same subject in both the clauses. That means the same person is doing two actions at the same time. Max noticed something while he was going to office. So here Max is the one who noticed something, and who was going to office? Max was going to office. So because we have the same subject, one person is doing two actions. That's why I am not using the subject again. So the structure is, after while we will use the second action plus ing, verb, base form of the verb plus ing. So Max noticed something while going to office, go plus ing, going to office. So you will always follow this structure with while when the subject is same, when the subject, one subject is doing two actions. Then you don't need to repeat the subject. Let me give you one more example. She ate food while watching TV. So again, one subject and two actions. That's why I'm not repeating the subject. She ate food. She was watching TV. So she ate food while watching TV. After while, second action, watch plus ing, watching TV. So she ate food, and during that time, what other action she was doing? She was watching TV. She ate food while watching TV. You can also say, while watching TV, she ate food. I am having popcorn while watching a movie. So again, while watching a movie, I am not repeating the subject. That's why after while, I am using the second verb with ing. While watching movie. So this way, when you have the same subject, then instead of repeating the subject, you can simply use verb with ing after while. So this way we use while when two actions happen at the same time and in the same location. While can be used in some other sentences also in different ways. I have made a detailed video on while, how it can be used in different sentences. I will mention the link in description box. So if you haven't watched it yet, then you can watch the video if you want to know more about while. In this video, I will only talk about the difference between while and meanwhile. Now let's look at some examples of meanwhile. Meanwhile is used when two actions happen at the same time but in different locations. And meanwhile means in the meantime or during this time or during the same time. Now let's look at some examples. Tisha went to the market. Meanwhile, I prepared the dinner. Generally, meanwhile is used at the starting of a sentence. It's not like while. While is used to connect two clauses. But meanwhile is used at the starting of a sentence. It doesn't connect two clauses. So you say something, first sentence, and then you say meanwhile, comma, and then the rest of the sentence. Tisha went to the market. First sentence. Now, meanwhile, comma, I prepared the dinner. Second sentence. So that's how we use meanwhile. So in this sentence, two actions are performed by two different people in two different locations. That's why we have not used while, we have used meanwhile. Why don't you have something in cafeteria? Meanwhile, I will finish my work. So first sentence, why don't you have something in cafeteria? End of the sentence. It's a question. And then the next sentence starts with meanwhile. Meanwhile, comma, I'll finish my work. So after meanwhile, we will always have a comma. Just remember that. So again, two different actions in two different locations. I'm buying groceries. Meanwhile, you please go and pick her up. So this way we use meanwhile when two actions happen at the same time but in different locations. One very important thing that I need to tell you is that sometimes while and meanwhile can be used interchangeably. When two actions happen at the same time in the same location, then you can use either while or meanwhile. For example, I'm preparing dinner. Meanwhile, you bake the cake. Or while you bake the cake. So here in this sentence, two actions happen at the same time in the same place. So both are correct. Whether you use meanwhile or while, they both are correct and they both have the same meaning. Which means during this time, in the meantime. Alright. So I am preparing dinner. In the meantime or meanwhile, you bake the cake. Or I am preparing dinner while you bake the cake. So two actions are happening at the same time in the same location. But if two actions happen at the same time but in two different locations, then you will have to use meanwhile. You cannot use while. So if this is the sentence, I am buying groceries. Meanwhile, you go and pick her up. If you use while you go and pick her up, that's incorrect because here in this sentence, we are talking about two actions happening at the same time but in two different locations. So grammatically, if you will use while in this kind of a construction, that will be absolutely incorrect. Okay, so when two actions are happening at the same time in the same location, then you can use either while or meanwhile. The meaning will remain the same. But if two actions are happening at the same time in two different locations, then you will use meanwhile. So this is the difference between while and meanwhile. So that's all for today. I hope you understood the difference between while and meanwhile. Now please make some more sentences using while and meanwhile, and you can always share your examples with me in the comment section. Keep learning, keep practicing, and please like and subscribe to my channel Parul English Lab, and don't forget to press the bell icon for future notifications. Thank you, take care, have a great day.